I've been so excited for this, bro, because like I said to you when you first arrived, we're two opposite ends, right? You're a man that's like promotes shaving it off, promotes
accepting it,
going bald, you know, accepting it. And then I've obviously made a lot of content, worked with hair loss brands, had a hair transplant. I'm the traitor that's done the opposite thing. I literally feel like a traitor to bald men, man. Whenever I think about this,
you're not
I'm
ready
like,
for the.
I look at you, I'm like, oh fuck, I should have done it, man. I should have done it.
Yeah.
But dude, do you wanna start with like a little bit about what you do, like a bit of an intro to yourself, what the channel's about?
Sure. Yeah. Like obviously, how deep are we going on the intro? My name's Harry James. I'm 35.
Oh, dude, whatever. Let's just keep it like a freaking conversation I've been having. I think.
Obviously, I run Bald Cafe.
But imagine someone's found you, although they're watching this and they have absolutely zero idea who you are, what you do.
Right. Okay. So I'm 35 now.
Yeah.
10 years ago, almost exactly. It was like June. I started losing my hair.
Okay.
Or discovered that I was losing my hair.
Yeah.
And seemingly overnight, right in that moment, it completely changed me, rocked my confidence like on another level. I was living in China at the time. And then obviously we'll dive into the nuts and the bolts.
I want to touch on China as well.
Yeah,
man. Like, that's crazy.
It was my insecurity over losing my hair lasted about a year.
Yeah.
Right. And to the point where I was like, no, this is controlling me so much. I'm so worried about this. I just need to face this. I need to face this. I need to know I can handle this. And so began the path of acceptance, I guess, of like tackling that insecurity. And for me, it was through going bald. I was so afraid to go bald. The solution to that fear was to go bald, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then that transformation again was so profound. I was like, I have to share this. I have to let people know that it can be done, because I'd gone from so insecure to so free.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I know there's got to be a lot of other guys out there struggling with it. And again, I'll go into the whole story.
Yeah.
But that's then when I started posting about this online, like sharing my story, sharing like my thoughts around hair loss, how to accept it. And that was like 9 years ago on YouTube. And I grew Bald Cafe into this like community, really. Like we got, I think, over like 250,000 subscribers on YouTube now, maybe like 60 on Instagram. Big community, right? Considering it's quite a niche topic.
Yeah.
And I just haven't stopped from that day when I was like, I have to help people, help men through this. Haven't stopped. And it's been, fantastic. So that's what I do now. I consider myself an expert on how to accept balding, because that was the question in my mind most of all when I was losing my hair, was like, how can I just accept this? How can I just move on from feeling insecure about this? That was the question always on my mind. And so from me going down that path, it's just been a continual, I guess, assessment and like piecing together what works, right? Helping other guys do it, learning from their stories. Just day in, day out, I've lived and breathed it. And that's what I do now, ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think it's super interesting. This is why I wanted to speak to you, because it's, like I said, it's we're polar opposite things. I made a lot of content on keeping your hair, getting a hair transplant, taking the medication for your hair, and then you're literally the other end of this. But then I feel like it converges, because at the end of the day, we both want to be confident, happy, like at peace with yourself and enjoy the way you look. But then it's completely different ways of getting there. So I think it's gonna be really cool to unpack, you know, the mindset behind shaving it off and like what you've spoke about to other guys with.
Yeah.
But
pursue the same thing, right?
Yeah.
We're pursuing the same thing. Self-confidence, self-esteem, high self-worth, you know, because that underpins basically everything you're going to do if we're being real.
Yeah.
You know, and something like hair loss really knocks that.
Yeah.
And so we're both then looking to achieve the same relief from that, you know, feelings of not being confident, but just in different ways.
Yeah.
Right? But ultimately, our mindsets on ourselves after the action. So like for you, after the hair transplant, you're like, sweet, that's sorted. Like I look good. I don't need to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
You crack on.
Yeah.
For me, same thing, but just a different way of getting there. Right, sweet. I've shaved it. That looks good. I feel good. I don't need to worry about that anymore. Let me crack on.
Yeah. I feel like there's lots of different angles as well, man, because as you say about getting the hair transplant, right? I relate to this because when they shave, I'm gonna get absolutely grilled in the comments to this because I cannot say bald. I have to think like all men go bald and remember it's bald. I'm pretty certain I'm dyslexic.
Yeah.
And every video, they're like, this guy's making videos on hair loss and he can't even say it. He says bald.
Bald, yeah.
So,
I think that's a bit of an English thing though. I think I get pulled up on that, yeah. But it is bald, yeah, not bold.
Yeah, I just can't speak.
I think that's an accent thing as well.
We'll say that. Yeah. But then I get brought and balt mixed up, you know? So I'm not very good at this. We're gonna say I'm dyslexic maybe. Yeah. But maybe not. But yeah, man, it's like I relate in a way, right? Even though the kind of the way of getting to that place is very different between both of us. Because when I got the hair transplant, for me personally, I think the hair transplant was probably the best thing I've ever done for my appearance. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, I think it was an absolutely great decision that I made. But then when I got it shaved off and when I was properly bald, skinhead, like walking around for a good few months, I actually loved it, mate. It's weird. Like, I really enjoyed it. And I through doing that, I didn't actually, like, for those like 6 months after that, I didn't care about hair at all.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care if it would grow back. Obviously, I wanted it to grow back. Yeah. But it wasn't gonna cripple my self-esteem and cripple my confidence. I felt like I was more respected as well, which is really weird. Yeah. Being like a jacked, like big bald guy in Asia. And I'd also get a lot of female attention when I had like a shaved head, which I never thought that I would. I think that was one of my biggest fears. So I kind of see both sides of it, which is super interesting.
Yeah, that was your glimpse into my world, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then I was thinking, like, this is when I was like, oh, I'm a traitor. I got a hair transplant, like, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, so I think that's what makes me really interested about your content, because I see like both sides of it, right?
Yeah.
And I've always known about you on YouTube. I can't remember if I saw your stuff first or you saw mine, but every now and then we'll like comment on each other's stuff. Yeah. And even though the content is completely like polar opposite from what I would do or what I would say, like on the surface level, like I've always had a huge respect, man, for what you do and the videos that you make, right? So I've just thought, yeah, that's so fucking cool. So I feel like we share a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences.
Yeah, no, I think underpinning it is that sort of wanting to help people, positivity, sharing your experience, you know, the pursuit of, well, we talked about it a bit off camera, didn't we? Like growing, developing, you know, self-development, figuring things out. You know, I think we share the same sentiment on a lot of that stuff. Which is where that sort of connection is. And again, the route to get there may be different, but we're still trying to help ourselves and other people achieve the same outcome, which is feeling good about yourself, living a good life, having the success you want, not letting insecurity hold you back.
Hell yeah.
You know?
I think you say that, actually, I think maybe it ties into the stuff in my leg, man, because so with my leg, I can never change my leg. I'm always going to have a black leg that's always going to be swollen, always going to look different. Yeah. And growing up, this was the worst thing for me. Like I would, like in PE in school, I'd go to the disabled toilets to get changed, so no one would see like this leg suspender support that I used to wear. It would really bother me. I think that this thing was going to make me, I'd literally like cry when I was younger and think I was going to die alone because no one would ever love me because I had this like tiny little, and it used to only be on my calf as well, like black leg support. And I think I don't care about that in the slightest now, man. Like I'll go to the beach, I'll have sex with it on, like when I was single, and even like meeting people for the first time. I think it's a bit different with your partner. Yeah. But I would wear this like black leg suspender, right? And it took me so long to get there and accept that, okay, this thing can't be changed. But when you do accept that, it's like, it's the best feeling in the world. And maybe I see it kind of similar being with hair loss as a man.
Yeah, taking something that was, and I think this is what still fuels me a little bit today to even be talking about this stuff or still helping guys through it with it, is because you've taken something that was, as you're saying, your biggest insecurity, something you literally shed tears over, would keep you up at night. Yeah. And you completely moved past that
Yeah.
You know, and that is life changing, right? Whatever the insecurity is, or whatever the thing holding you back is, holding you back from your potential. I think just the relief, you know, we use the word in the board sphere, we use the word freedom all the time.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. An insecurity is, it weighs down on you. It holds you back. You know, there's so many ways to describe it, but the weight on the shoulders, you know, just that constant like feeling. And then being past that, to have that lifted off you and to not have to worry about that anymore. Like, that's what you are now experiencing in life with your leg situation.
Yeah.
Same with hair loss like this, you know? So again, the similarity.
Yeah.
That's probably why you can relate. Yeah.
And I think like I had a glimpse into this with when I shaved it off and went bald. But man, it's like the reward is so great, right? That feeling is so good when you, like with me, for example, when I can just wear shorts now and people look at me, because obviously it's not the same if you shaved a head, because a lot of guys have shaved head, right? It's just normal, or it's not quite the same. But I'll get people staring at me, or I'll see like girls like staring at me, or like in the kids or whatever in the checkout, and like, it doesn't faze me in the slightest.
Yeah.
And if that was to happen maybe when I was like 15 or 16 years old, that would be the worst thing that could have ever happened to me.
Yeah.
But I feel like any insecurity, man, whatever it is, if you're willing to go through that like discomfort, the reward on the other side of it is so freaking great.
Yeah. You were speaking to me earlier about CBT, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean, this is really what it all comes down to, like truly things like exposure therapy, essentially that is, isn't it? You know, you being in the supermarket a number of times with the shorts, you deal with those looks, those reactions enough times, you've got enough reference points where you're like, oh, this is fine. Like, I can totally handle this. You have sex with it on enough times to the point where it's normal. And you realize, you allow your brain and your nervous system, whatever, to realize like, okay, actually, I don't need to be living in fear because of this or whatever, right? So you get that relief from that. It's
not the thing that scares us, it's the stories that we tell ourselves about the thing.
100%.
It's like the what if, like what if no one loves me because I'm losing my hair?
Yeah.
What if no one like will ever marry me because I have a black leg?
Yeah.
It's these irrational stories.
I want to just really quickly, you know, when you would, I want to come back to the leg situation, but you know, when you were losing your hair, what ways were you trying to disguise that?
Okay, that's a really good question, man. And I think as well, just so I don't forget, I'd love to know about your story with hair loss and how it happened.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I could talk about it all day.
I think it might have started maybe in school. And
the hair loss.
Or maybe in sixth form or something, but I didn't really notice it.
Yeah.
So I might have if you're genetically predisposed to it, I feel like there's going to be signs of where your hairline sits as you go through puberty. But I was completely oblivious to hair loss or the fact that I might ever lose my hair. And maybe like one or two times my friends would take a dig about my hairline and it just kind of went straight over my head because this wasn't a thing that I was aware of.
Yeah.
And then eventually it got worse and worse and worse and worse as I was in university. I think I got a short haircut and I could see all my scalp. I could see it was like going really far back. And I didn't like it, man. And I was like, oh shit, like what's happening? I really need to fix this. But going back to your original question in terms of hiding it, everything, bro. So I would have, when I was, I can't remember if I've always had a fringe, right? I think I'd grow out the sides, the classic to try and mask that temporal recession.
Yeah, so that was one way.
Hats is another one as well. I'd wear a lot of hats. I would dread if I was, because I lived in like a seaside town or I'd surf a lot. I think I'd really get worried about getting my hair wet in front of, especially women. I think it mainly stems to women, or I just had this fear that I was like, my biggest fear was that someone would say something.
Yeah, same.
Like my friend or something, like would make a subtle joke or a subtle dig about my hair. Like that'd be like the worst thing.
Yeah. What about on camera?
So on camera, yes, Matt, especially in I think a lot of my old YouTube content. If I was going to festivals and other things, you'll probably notice that I always have a hat on, or I'm very sweaty as well. So I try and brush the fringe down
like
straight.
This,
you know, so on camera, I'd spend so much time trying just to hide the recession that on my head.
When you were editing old videos, would there ever be a time where you would see like, oh damn, like you can see my receding hairline or whatever, and would you cut like those bits out? Did you ever experience that?
I must have. I don't specifically remember this, but this seems like something I would have absolutely done.
Or maybe you just did a good job of like being so on top of keeping it covered.
Well, there's photos and stuff, right? And like the photos, they see the light of day now because I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I say I'm fine with it. I got the hair transplant. I cheated. I brute forced my way out of it.
Yeah.
But there's photos, and I would never share those photos because of the way that my hair looked.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I think another one is Wind as well. You know, the nemesis of the boarding guy. Wind, hats, all of those things.
No hair fibers.
So I never went down the route of hair fibers. I did use like a powder to like bulk up my hair. I'll still use that every now and then. It's more of a styling thing.
Yeah.
But I never went down colored fibers. I know Mike Thurston uses them actually. I think I've seen him use them in a video.
Does he use hair fibers? Does he?
I might be making this up. I don't want to like slander Mike on the YouTube, but out him.
Uncle Mike.
But no, maybe I'm making this up. But I swear I saw a piece of content. Someone like him. What was it? Using them.
I ask about those because those are essentially your safety behaviors, right? All of those things to keep you safe from that experience of someone saying something. And that is what then locks you into that cycle of that constant like anxiety that you feel over the threat of someone saying something. But every time you use those safety behaviors, you rob yourself of the opportunity to prove that fear wrong. Right. So if you just you feel comfortable now having it out there because you've already exposed the hair loss online, in real life. Do you know what I mean? So you've already done the revealing. Hair loss is not a secret anymore, right? Which is why you feel you don't feel that fear anymore. And it was the same with your leg, but with that exposure therapy now, right, to the point where you can wear the shorts, you can go to the beach, you can have sex with it out. But when you were in school and you were hiding in the disabled toilet, that was like your version of wearing the hat, going like this, right? So because you were doing that, you never gave the world and people around you the opportunity to see that, for you to be like, oh, actually, no one's really, I mean, kids are kids, right? But as you get through life, you're like, oh, no one's really saying anything.
No one cares, right?
And it's the same with the route of like going bald, right? So it's only painful during that time when you're doing all of those safety behaviors to keep it hidden. So like this now, everybody knows why I've got a shaved head, or I do, I shave mine maybe like once a week. So then it starts to grow out on the side, you're rocking around in the gym. Like it's no secret. So I'm sort of, you're deliberately exposing yourself in that way to get that exposure therapy. So then all of the things you think are going to go wrong in your life about losing your hair, you realize aren't. And therefore the hair loss problem is done. It's over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like that's the bigger message. And maybe this is where we really align, right? Because I 100% agree with you here. And it's that larger, that deeper layer to it is that anything that you're insecure about or anything that bothers you, it's not the thing itself. It's like the story about the thing that we say, right? So, and the only way that you can get over that, and this is something I've always preached with the leg stuff, is through exposure therapy, man, is through facing the thing that you're scared of head on. And then if you don't do that, you're going to be stuck in this perpetual cycle of misery. And the only way to break out of it is by addressing that thing that scares you. But like the leg stuff, man. Like it's crazy, the mindset shift, because previously I would have thought that if someone was looking, like the other day, like last week when it was hot, there was two girls at the checkout, like the younger girls, and they were like, I saw them like looking at me, then looking at my leg, and then like look at like point of the other one. And like that would have been the worst, like the most awful thing imaginable to me. I would have gone bright red.
Stories going in your mind. What
man,
they
I would have been like, I would have like wanted to probably cry and melt into the ground. And like, and it made me smile. Like I was like, oh, this is funny. Like these girls are probably like, number one, checking me out, and then number two, they're just like, oh, like, what's that thing on his leg?
Can I ask? So I went on that big rant about the safety behaviors because I think that's where the relatability is.
Just go a little bit far away, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Because I've turned it up.
Was it peaking? Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
That was where the relatability is, I think, why you were saying like, oh, I kind of can relate to that. I think specifically that's why. But also a question on that. So imagine your life now if you'd never done, and if you're like now, the leg situation was still a secret.
Yeah.
You know, like imagine if you'd gone through your whole YouTube career, your whole everything, never talking about it, feeling so embarrassed, like always keeping it hidden. Like, and imagine like last week when it was sweltering hot, right? Or like you wouldn't be going to the beach, you wouldn't be swimming, you wouldn't be doing anything.
I went to Florida as when I was like 12, and it was like 35, 40 degrees, 100% humidity. Wore trousers the whole time, man. Suffered.
There you go. Yeah. So that's so interesting, because that is ultimately what a lot of balding guys are going through now. But rather than the trousers in the Florida sun, it's the hair fibers, the hat.
Yeah.
You know, that's their thing, keeping them safe, but also keeping them stuck.
Yeah.
You know? And it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Last question on that specific situation. Do you get a kick now in some weird way over being able to have that out and get exposure and be in that situation?
Yeah, I love it,
like,
bro.
Does it give you a bit of a boost?
It feels so good. It's it's so good for your mindset, right? I feel like it's such a kick to do it, and it feels amazing as well. And this is something that I've thought about. It's kind of, I use the analogy of it's just like skydiving in a way, because there's something you really fear, which is jumping out of a plane, and everyone fears this because and like fear of heights is innate. Like everyone has a fear of heights, and then you do this thing, it's terrifying. You jump out of the plane, and then you land, and then it feels good. And then you're like, wow, I overcame that fear. This feels incredible. And it gives you all these endorphins and that massive rush, right? And it's almost like a more extreme version of the leg stuff, of the hair stuff, because I feel like it's that fear that you've addressed. And then because you've overcome that fear and you still remember how scary it was, and maybe there's still an element where somewhere deep down, it's still a little bit like anxiety inducing. It feels great. It feels amazing. And that feeling is, I find, addictive.
Yeah. Like a big dose, like a big shot of it rather than like drawn out. The skydive, I guess, is like a big hit of it.
Man, yeah. And I think I don't want to make this all about me, but I'm just thinking back to my past experiences as well. Another one for me is teeth.
Okay.
So I used to have growing up really gappy teeth, right? Like buck teeth, like massive gap in the middle of my teeth. And it was a massive insecurity of mine as well. I'd say this was before the hair. This is probably, the leg and the teeth were pretty well tied. And I remember I really wanted braces on the NHS. And I grew up with a single mum and two little sisters, so she didn't really have any money. And they wouldn't give me braces because my teeth were very gappy, but they weren't like twisted.
Yeah. And
my mum couldn't ever afford to get me braces. And I was like, I'd tell myself these stories again, like a lot of crying as a child. Tell myself these stories, like I was so upset, and I was like, I'm never going to be successful because all successful people have like straight teeth and all these other things. And then when I was around, this is on YouTube as well, actually, maybe when I was around 20, 21 years old, I was squatting in the gym. And my mate went to hype me up Ronnie Coleman style. And he hit me teeth first into the squat rack, into the bar.
Yeah.
And I smashed out one of my front teeth. It was repaired really badly. And I basically had half a front tooth because the NHS didn't repair it properly. And I couldn't see a dentist for the entirety of summer. And so I was walking around with like half a front tooth. I was like, oh no, it's not good. And I'd already got to a good place with my leg. So this is at the same time, like I do things, man, exposure therapy, like to get over this fear of people judging me for the leg. It got to a point where, so my biggest fear was someone looking at the leg and seeing it, being different, and seeing this black thing on it. And it got to a point where I went to a festival and nothing but a pair of Speedos with this just like leg suspender on.
Yeah.
And this is around the same time that I smashed out the tooth as well. And I was like, okay, we'll just like give this a go, whatever. And yeah, man, even with the smashed out broken front tooth, I think one of my biggest fears was meeting girls and dating. Like I had such a successful summer meeting women and dating girls because I just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but like my tooth is fucked. I look like a hillbilly. I've got this weird black leg.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how much success you can have when you tell yourself that you're not going to have that, despite having these things that you're so convinced are going to ruin it for you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example of how you can hold yourself back so much, right? Like it could have gone the opposite way, and your mindset around that could have really held you back. But you went the opposite way, and like you said, like one of your best summers ever in that regard.
Yeah.
Because you were like, I'm not going to let this hold me back. Like lean into it, got a kick from it, got a kick from, I think that alone is a confidence boost, right? Like putting yourself out there, doing it like that, like you say, wearing the Speedo and that, rocking the hillbilly too.
Yeah.
And then like getting success or whatever from that. And then it's just a snowball of confidence from that.
Yeah, that's it. That's the exact way. Like I used to say that so much. That like success spiral, success snowball. Right, one thing leads on to another.
Yeah.
But there's like that initiation to push, like get the rock rolling down the hill to begin with, which is addressing that fear and just sending
taking the leap,
it.
taking the leap, as we call it.
So what's your story with hair loss then? How did it start for you?
So obviously when I must have been losing my hair for like, they say you've already lost a certain percentage of hair before you notice, right?
Yeah.
So my old man, he was bald, like, growing up, and uncles and things. And so there was one time, right, and this is so funny because this only kind of came to light after I'd really started losing my hair. But there was one time when I was maybe like 14, where I remember washing my hair and in the bath. When I say in the bath, like shower.
Yeah.
And we had this like thing over the plug hole, so all the hair, and I've got a sister as well, mum, whatever. So all that hair doesn't go down the plug hole, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like every time I'd wash my hair, I'd look at this plug hole and I'd be like, that's quite a lot of hair, and I didn't have short hair. It was like somewhat long. So I just put it down to that. I was like, if you imagine you have 100 hairs on this little catcher thing, but if they're this long, then it's going to look like loads of hair. Yeah. So I just thought it must be that. But I do remember asking my hairdresser, the woman that cut my hair at the time, like, am I losing my hair? Nah, like, don't be silly. Like, we lose 100 hairs a day, And I was like,
it's
okay,
so thick.
sweet.
It's never gonna come.
Yeah, it's so thick. Oh, I've got to get the thinning scissors on it.
Mate. Yeah, I remember
all
this.
of that.
Yeah.
But I had a conversation with my dad after I'd started all this bald cafe stuff.
Does he have hair?
No, like he's only rocking a bit of side hair, like no hair.
Yeah.
But I remember asking him like about his story about me, and he said, "Oh, I do remember." It's so funny that they never said anything. They didn't want to stress me out. Mm-hmm. So around that time, I do remember saying to your mum, like, there's a lot of hair in the bath, like after Harry's had a shower in there, And so he sort of must have known the writing was on the wall, like, because obviously he lost his hair at like 22 or something.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting now looking back. But anyway, that was the first time I maybe thought about it, got reassured by my parents or by my dad and by the hairdresser, never stressed about it again. And then I probably checked my hair like maybe twice after that in my whole entire life. Like the classic, like pull the hairline back, like, is it good? And my hairline was perfect. So I never stressed it. Then I was recording YouTube videos for like some other project. I was making t-shirts at the time. I was trying to start a clothing brand. And I was like filming one of my first videos because I was big into Gary Vee. He was telling me to document the process, right?
Okay, yeah. Document
the process.
Yeah.
And then I dropped this thing on the floor, and the camera was about where you're sat. Just my iPhone, and it obviously filmed the top of my head as I sort of like went down to pick something up off the floor.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really posted anything much on YouTube at that point, so I reviewed it to see like, how am I coming across on camera? Like, should I post this?
Yeah.
And then I'm watching this video, and the moment when I go to pick something up off the floor, I'm like, I see it instantly. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And I'm scrubbing through this footage, and I'm like, no, like something's not right there. And I could just see it was like a bit pink on the top of my head.
Okay.
If you want, maybe we'll put a picture up.
Yeah, send me the picture.
But, and I was like zooming in, and I was like checking it, and I was like, and my fucking heart was like absolutely pounding, and I was just like, please no, like begging, like don't be this, like, because I instantly I thought, am I losing my hair? But I had no idea, just totally blindsided. And recalling it now, I can literally feel what it was like, and I'm like feeling it, and I'm like, no, like, is it normal? Like, is it thin? And it was undeniable.
Has
like
it always been like
it
that?
was just thin.
Yeah.
And then I went into the bathroom, and obviously I was living in China, and it was like this big wet room. So like where I'd been doing my hair and blow drying it and stuff, there was like hair all over the walls. I remember in China, like the ceilings aren't that high.
Yeah.
And they have hot lamps in the top because I was in Chongqing and it's hot there most of the time. So there's no heating.
Yeah.
But obviously it is a bit cold in the winter in the bathroom. So they have these heat lamps. And I remember thinking, fuck, Like the last 6 months, it has felt so hot under that heat lamp.
Yeah.
And it's because I didn't have like the hair density on top to like,
Okay.
to like shield me from this halogen bulb, like 1,000 watt, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Like burning my scalp. And I just started piecing all these things together, taking videos of the top of my head, like more videos to check. And like, yeah, it was totally undeniable. I was like, I'm legit losing my hair. And I have a video that I can also share with you maybe. Where I probably sat in that chair for like an hour, just like this, just like head in my hands, like this can't be true. Like, please.
How old were you at this point?
I was 25.
Okay.
And I think it was hitting me so hard because, you know, I finished uni in Plymouth and like I was working some like god awful job, like minimum wage. And I was on an adventure. I'd moved to China. I was in a new relationship. I was learning Chinese, trying all these businesses out. I can.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Can you say I can speak Chinese?
我会说中文.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
Trying all these business ideas out. I'd really felt like I was on a roll, on a path. You like really, for the first time, life was like amazing.
Yeah.
And then bang, you know, it was like humbled me, you know, I just thought that's it. Dreams are over.
Life is over.
Life is over. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be all these things. And I just thought, forget it. Like all of that is going to come to a halt because I'm going to go bald.
Fuck, man.
And it did. And genuinely, you know, that was the fear. I made that video and very, very interesting that I chose to do that. Probably because I was in that mindset of Gary V, right? Document everything.
Yeah.
So you know, obviously this whole, my life now, Bald Cafe, hair loss, confidence wasn't even on the radar then, but there was something in me that said record this moment.
Yeah.
You know, and I put my phone back up and I just trauma dumped on the camera and I just let my thoughts flow. And it was like, this is going to ruin my life. My girlfriend's going to leave me. I'm going to be that ugly. This is awful to say now, but there is a stereotype of British foreigner in Thailand, for example, in Asia.
Yeah.
Obviously I was in China. I'd been to Thailand and I was like, 25 and I was thinking that's going to be me, like that's my future, you know, but not in 35 years, in one
Fat,
or two.
bald sex tourist.
Yeah, basically, you know, like I was like, that's my, like that's on the cards, you know, that's going to be it. And I just couldn't get away from that thought. So that was like initially what I did. Yeah, I filmed that. And then you were asking me there, or you were going to ask me, what did I do next? Right.
Yeah.
So after filming that, I was just like, right, okay, let me just try and digest this. And I just tried to like carry on basically. I was like, look, let's just calm down. Okay. Let's just take it easy. This isn't gonna ruin. I was trying to tell myself, you know, it's that cycle of, they call it that, the cycle of grief or whatever, you know, where it's like, you know, whatever, all the points on the cycle, bargaining, acceptance, yeah.
Arguing.
So I think bargaining is one of the first things. And I was thinking, I was trying to piece together, it must be stress. You know, I'm in China, I'm in Chongqing, like there's so much light pollution, there's so much noise pollution. I'm burning the candle at both ends. You know, I'm doing the teaching, I'm studying, I'm trying to do all this business stuff, you know, like it must be that. I'll just calm down, I'll do some meditating and, you know, that'll feel right back in.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to think, like I was like, maybe it's the diet. I've probably been eating out too much. Cut back on the noodles. I'll start, you know, cooking more at home.
Yeah, that was it, I reckon.
All of these
Too
things.
many noodles, bro.
Literally all of these things. But there was no denying it, you know? And so the actual physical hair loss wasn't really that severe, you know, in terms of I didn't have this gaping hole in the crown, but it was like, you know, it was noticeably thinning out. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever noticed. The only person to ever notice was my nan about 8 months on from that moment. And she'd had 2 sons that had lost their hair.
What did she say?
She was like, well, she laughed. She did giggle, to be honest. She was like, "Oh, you're losing your hair, like Harry." And I was just like, "Yeah, I know." And again, I think I was stroking her dog or something, so I like bent down, so she was like almost sat where you are.
Okay.
So she could see the top of my head and just see that it was like a little bit thinner.
Yeah.
But over that time, the thing that really struck me was these safety behaviors. I just couldn't get it out of my head. I just couldn't get the fear of the future out of my head. You know, what am I going to look like? Like, are people going to treat me differently? Like being a foreigner in China as well, like I did get a lot of like, oh, you're so handsome. Like, let me take a picture with you, which massively like artificially inflated my ego.
100%.
Like it just did, like, wow, this handsome white guy. And which I got a buzz out of that, because I mean, I don't know how much we want to go back, but I wasn't the most confident kid growing up. You're quite overweight, like I like failed so hard at dating. Like even though I had plenty of opportunity, I was just such a wet wipe when it came to actually like actioning.
Same, man.
Just
Same.
like massively.
Yeah.
One of my first memories of that was in Southampton. They had a nightclub called Icon, which became Oceana, which you all know Oceana from Plymouth, right? Of course. And they used to do nights where it was like for like 15, 16-year-olds.
Okay.
I remember going there one time with my mate Josh. You remind me a lot of him, actually. And like handsome guy, tall, dark, handsome, strong jawline, and really like looked after himself. Started working out quite young, so he had like a good rig on him. Like when we were like 15, so like successful with birds back then. With women. And I was just little like sidekick, like hanging on, to the side. Not that I've really like. Not that it was really like something that ever really held me back, but it was just that general sort of like feeling, or aura. I just wasn't confident, a bit awkward in like the clothes I was wearing, just like, and it kind of makes me sad to think of myself back then. And I think this is why I'm so passionate about what I do now, about developing that true sense of self-confidence, was because I went a long time without it. From growing up, and then I got quite skinny, from like when I shot up through puberty, just never really feeling at home, or like really like I knew myself. And I think that was why hair loss hit me so hard, was because during those years, my 20s, going out to China, having some, I had a couple of girlfriends in my 20s, and like, I felt like, I'm really finding myself here. I'm finding my confidence here in myself, in this image, in what I'm doing, finding my passions, all of this. And then like that, I was like, well, that's all going to change now because I'm going bald, or because I'm going to go bald. And I think because my confidence then was artificial in a sense, I was basing it off of something that ultimately I didn't have full control over, which was the fact I was losing my hair, I think that's why it rocked me so hard and was such a sort of gut punch. Maybe it took me back to those early days, where I didn't really have that self-confidence. I can't remember why I went down that road exactly in this conversation, but I couldn't get it out of my mind of like, this is just going to ruin me, And so I developed these safety behaviors, taking videos of the top of my head before I'd go out the door to see like how bad is it. I've got videos of me like constantly going like this. Yours was the fringe, mine was obviously the back. Of like doing this. It was this movement to try and get the spread, get as much volume as I could. But it almost became like a tick. Like I was just doing it so much. Because if the wind blew or something, I would feel it moving, and then I would feel exposed, or there was more threat that someone might see it. Walking down the street in China or whatever with my head like this, so that there was like maximum elevation, so that no one would see the back of my head. And probably the most prominent one, I was obviously studying Chinese at the time in university, and there was maybe like 8 rows to a class. And I was like the guy when I signed up for these university classes. I loved it so much. And I was that like always had been really, probably developed that through school, through not being that confident. I was always telling jokes, like the first person to be doing the presentation, like throwing myself into things. I was that guy in class, And I went from that guy to slowly becoming like more and more reserved and like shrinking myself, because I was so afraid, and this sounds so ridiculous to say, but I felt like I had a certain presence and image in that class around those people. I was the handsome, confident British guy.
Yep.
Right? And so there was obviously people from all around the world, other guys, and again, it was an ego thing that, you know, I would compare myself to other guys in the class who were like maybe 50, you know, not that attractive, I would say subjectively, you know, and then maybe I felt I was a bit better than certain people. Well, that was before balding, because he ain't going bald, you know, but I was. And so that switched. And I remember being in class one day, middle, like maybe like the third row, 4 rows behind, and there was these 2 Italian guys behind me in my class, and they were like whispering, and they were like like laughing, and I was like, oh my god, like they've seen it, they're laughing at me going bald. Yeah, it must be that. Obviously I have no idea, they were speaking Italian, I've got no idea, but these were these like 40-50-year-old guys or whatever, they were like whispering and laughing. And I was like mortified, you know, I was like, oh my God. And I remember going like this to like try and cover like my head. Yeah. And then maybe like after 5 minutes, it was this like break time. I've actually never, I've told this story a lot, but never in this much detail. Okay. And the bell went, we had our break. And then I was like, nah, fuck this. I went and, I don't normally swear either in my videos, but I'm feeling passionate about this conversation. Fuck you. And I shifted across to the very side of the class. Yeah. And then I sort of like turned my seat like this, and I just spent because it would have been weird if I'd have moved to the very back, right? Okay. In that moment. So the next step was to just move to the Italian guys are over there now. I've moved all the way to the side, and I just spent the rest of the class with my head against like the back of the wall. Trying to like be like blasé and play it off like, leaning. Yeah. But keep myself safe from like, you know, them seeing it more or other people seeing it, because I felt vulnerable then. I was like, nah, people are starting to notice. And to this day, by the way, I don't think that was what they were even laughing about or talking about. I don't think they noticed, because nobody did. Yeah. And it was barely visible. But in my mind, I was like, no, it must be that. Like that's what I believed. And then from that moment on, I never sat in one of the middle rows again. I would show up. We had a rule in the class where if you showed up late, you had to sit at the back to not disturb it. And so I would show up late to every class so that I would sit like by the door, last chair, and I would just keep my head against the wall like that. And if there was any time where like the teacher would be like, oh, like, right, we need someone to come up and write some characters on the board, I'd be like in my bag, like head under the desk, like totally avoiding eye contact, you know? And then it was things like that slowly but surely started showing up more and more in my life. Yeah. Where I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, this has completely taken over any sense of confidence that I had. Yeah. And that was the most shocking thing for me, I think. That was when I was like, wow. And I think one of the reasons why I do what I do today is because I just couldn't believe how much... I couldn't believe how insecure I was over it and how much it was like impacting my life, like genuinely, you know, just this insecurity over hair loss. Because don't forget, hair loss doesn't hurt physically. I wasn't in pain, you know, like, oh, like I can't get out of bed because my head is hurting so much. Yeah. I was just terrified of like someone, for me, it was the same as you. I was so afraid someone, for example, those Italian guys would stand up, because I was quite cocky. Like, I would take the joke mick out of other people. Yeah. I even remember taking the piss out of colleagues who were losing their hair when I wasn't, and things like that. Yeah. I was that annoying guy. Yeah. Probably a bit of a defense mechanism against my own sense of insecurity, right? Yeah, yeah. But I just was that guy. You know, I would take the piss out of people and things like that, banter, whatever. And I was like, how the turntables, how the turns of tables, literally. Yeah. I was just waiting for someone to go, "You're losing your hair in front of everyone." You know, like, "Oh, Harry, you going bald?" Yeah. And I just lived in fear of that, and it just controlled me. Yeah. It's crazy, like the impact that it can have psychologically, and I feel like until you've experienced something like that, or some kind of crippling insecurity, you just won't get it. You just won't get it at all. Like, I see, obviously, I see online sometimes, like, women mocking guys that are bald, right? Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I get it. They don't understand, but it's like the same. Well, it's worse, I'd say. Like, if you started to take the piss out of a fat chick, yeah, because at least she can more easily change her body weight. Yeah. Whereas a guy that's going bald
has effectively, there's things that you can do, but there is no cure for hair
There's nothing
loss.
you've done to cause it happening. That's the
exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
There's, like you said, there's things you can do to change the appearance or whatever, but you haven't caused that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys say this to me. It's like the last bastion of things it's okay to take the piss out of is a man losing his hair.
Yeah.
And I think it's twofold. I think one, it just for some reason is seen as this thing it's okay to like really take the piss out of and joke about. But two, as a way of dealing with hair loss, let's be honest, we do joke about it or self-deprecate in some ways to play it off as like, yeah, whatever. Like on the inside, it's crushing you. But on the outside, you're like, yeah, whatever, I'm losing my hair. So I think there is a bit of a misconception there, with people who think like, oh, I didn't realize it wasn't okay to joke about this because a lot of you guys are joking about it, but that really is a way of like, it's another defense mechanism, like a lot of bald guys will do it now where they'll be like, I'll just make the joke first so that I'm not the victim of someone else making that joke or like trying to use it against me to like get one up on me. I'll just make the joke first of like, oh yeah, like I'm the bald guy or whatever they say, so to just get it out of the way, and not fear that happening. So yeah, twofold, I think.
I feel like, I feel like there's unhealthy deprecation like that, right? That you do 100%. From a place of insecurity to try and like manage that. But then I also feel like in a way it's maybe if you do it in a healthy way, for me personally, it can be a stepping stone to getting over it. Like, so I think it's where you come from initially of that mindset. Man, I was laughing a minute ago when you were telling me this story. Not because I wasn't laughing at your story, but I was just thinking when you told me about the two guys laughing at you, it gave me like a flashback.
Oh yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if I've ever spoken about this either, but it just came to my mind, and I like some like memory from years and years ago, and it's probably the time regarding my hair where I felt the most like wanted the ground to swallow me up. And I remember being at a festival, I was talking to this girl, like having a great time, had a hat on, and then it was her and her friend, I think, and I was like, I felt like the dog's bollocks, right? Chatting up this girl, she's obviously into me, and she was like, take your hat off. And the moment she said that, man, I was like, humbled. Oh my God. Like I wanted the ground to swallow me up. And then I did that same thing, right? Like you said, I was like, oh no, I've got a clapped out receding hairline. You don't want to see this, like making a joke about it. But in reality, that was from a place of crippling insecurity. Yeah.
And that's the problem with these things, right? With these, like, luckily you were able to kind of play it off and like joke it off a bit. But to the guy whose hair loss is still an absolute secret, he's trying his best to keep it under wraps. When you're in this world, like you see, they're everywhere. A moment like that can genuinely be a moment where they're like, fuck this, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Like truly. Or they're just like, nah, like it's all good. And then obviously that goes, like if a woman's drunk or whatever, it can be like 2 minutes later, they're like, yoink, like grabbing it off you.
Oh, man.
So, like, think about, you're not enjoying that festival. A guy like that who's like, looking over his shoulder constantly, like, oh, I'm having a good time. But at the same time, this hat needs to stay on, like, when, I was talking about earlier about that weight on your shoulder. It's like, that's like really what it is. Yeah, mad.
So did you try anything for your hair loss? Did you start trying like all these serums and remedies?
Right.
And
Yeah, no,
crazy stuff.
Good question. So I didn't ever think, right, what can I do to stop this?
Yeah.
And I think for me, I've obviously been asked about this a lot. I truly think the reason is because, like I said, I became so insecure about it so quick, and I wasn't blind to that fact. I really did acknowledge, I knew that was a fact. I could see almost like third person just how much this was impacting me. And it logically made no sense because let's just say from 2 months earlier, I had the exact same physical hair. So I realized, right, the thing that is causing me all of this pain and suffering is like what's going on in here, not on what's on here. It's what's in here. The fear of going bald is what is causing all of these issues, right?
Yeah.
And for me, because I knew, and I don't know what your take on it, but this is just how I define it, and this is my truth, so to speak. To me, the meds, the surgeries, it's not a cure, right? It doesn't take away, it wouldn't take away the fact that I was a man going bald or losing his hair, right? So underneath that, it still remains. This is the way I saw it, right? So because nothing could take that fact away, but that was a fact for me. For me, I knew, or a gut instinct or whatever, I was like, I have to face, this is my biggest fear. I have to face this fear.
Okay.
And I just thought, if I go down the road of trying to slow this down, trying to prevent it, for me, I was just like, I'm still going to be worried about, in some way, the future of, you know, how effective is it going to be? Is someone still going to notice? You know, because I was in that moment, I was still trying to keep it a huge secret. So I think it's different where, for example, where you have publicly declared, you know, I've had a hair transplant, I've done this. And if you think about it, for me, I never would have had that platform, or like I would never have had a public platform to declare that on. So I would have gone down the road of, and I speak to a lot of these guys, right, I need to have a hair transplant like in secret somehow.
Okay, I see.
You know, or like I need to do maybe I can take the meds, but I need to keep that a secret.
Okay.
I can't have it. I'm never going to tell anyone that I'm losing my hair. And because I was trying to keep the fact that I was losing my hair a secret, right? Because I was so embarrassed about that.
And that's a very unhealthy place to be.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I didn't want to keep going down that road because I was already on that road of doing everything I could to keep hair loss a secret, and that was the very thing causing me all of the pain and suffering that I've just described.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense, because I think, like, oh man, I'm sure, let's say my hair transplant fails, right? And or I decide to stop taking hair loss medication, and then I'm going to go bald. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure there's going to be I'll be delusional to say that there wouldn't be some resistance in my head to that, right?
Yeah.
I'd probably first get another hair transplant, and then if it came to it, I would shave it. I've come to peace with that. I've accepted that.
Yeah.
So there's always that little bit there. But like you were saying, I feel like there's two different psychological ways of looking at things. I feel like whether you shave it or not, or whether you get a hair transplant or not. And I think on the one side, there's this group of people that they need to fix this thing, and they'll do it in secret, and they're still incredibly insecure about it. So they'll get a hair transplant. They won't get the head shaved. They'll get the hair transplant in secret. They'll hide themselves.
Yeah.
They won't talk about it. And then that insecurity is always still going to be there. And I feel like that group of people, it's always going to be I think this is something that's really important, actually. I've never spoken about this, but I feel like that group of people, they're never going to be happy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they might have had the hair transplant, but it's still going to be a bit thin on top.
You're trying to make it something it isn't. And I know that sounds a bit brutal, but that is the reality. The truth will set you free. So if you can be perfectly happy with the reality of, I have the appearance of a full head of hair because I'm taking daily medication and I've had a hair transplant, I've had cosmetic surgery. That is my truth. If you can be totally happy with that, accept it for what it is, and have the whole world know about it, then you have won, essentially. You have made it. Nothing's hanging over you. That's your truth. If you can live with that peace, like, awesome, right? Because, for example, like, it is, I think, known that for some people, the effectiveness of the medications, for example, over like 50 years can diminish, right? This is why people start taking dutasteride and things like that.
Yeah.
So there are people out there that can't accept that fact. They're like, no, like, this is a cure, bro. Like, this is gonna, and that's just unhealthy thinking. And I don't ever hate on that. And this is the thing that annoys me about the hair loss world.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't have any animosity towards people that want to do this sort of thing. It's just not my road, and it's not the road for people who are aligned with my way of thinking.
Yeah.
But that's not me attacking people that want to take the medication, but it's because they are themselves, and this is what I just believe, uncomfortable with the truth of what it really is. Because obviously everyone desperately would love a cure where it's like you do this one thing one time and it ceases to be a reality. That isn't what finasteride and hair transplants are.
There is no cure for hair loss, right?
No.
So I completely agree, man, because I think these same people, right, that go and get the hair transplant, that maybe get the medication or do the medication, and they don't live in that truth, they'll get the hair transplant, but they won't be happy with it. Yeah, they'll find something else like my teeth or my eyes or my skin or my leg, and then it will be the next thing that I'll be happy when.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We said that earlier.
But then I think on the flip side as well, I feel like the place where maybe I'm biased because I feel like I fall into this group, but like I said, I've got the hair transplant. I take the medication, right? And I'm aware that it's not a cure. One day I might lose my hair. One day I might have to shave my hair off. I think this is something actually that I've just kind of put two things together. I think this is something I've learned from CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and reading a book on it. I guess like this is a preference of mine. It is a preference to have hair. And if I didn't have hair, yeah, it's going to be difficult, but I'll be fine. Like I know like it's going to be fine. Life will go on. So that's a healthy belief.
Yeah.
Whereas an unhealthy belief is I must keep my hair.
Yeah.
I am someone with hair. And when you have those unhealthy beliefs about your appearance and I know I make a lot of content on appearance and improving your appearance. I've got a video coming today actually as we're recording this on this same thing. But it's all like, I believe that if you can improve your reality without trade-offs and you can be at peace and happy, then sick.
Yeah.
If not, then the problem's probably coming from within, whether it's hair, whatever it is.
Yeah. I think, when we started this conversation and I said it's like two different paths to the same outcome, which is that ultimate like acceptance of what it is. And ultimately you just preferred, like you said, to have the appearance of a full head of hair, right? Have the appearance of the teeth the way you have them. That's what makes you happy. That's what makes you feel good. So you've done that and you're accepting of that. That's your truth, and you're happy to share it out there. But it all goes back to the getting changed in the disabled toilet. Like if you were now trying to live your life, keeping that a secret, it would be hanging over you, weighing over you. The thoughts would be keeping you up at night. It would be ruining your life. You wouldn't be going swimming. You wouldn't be. And ultimately my whole thing is the same thing, but you just deal with it by ultimately revealing the secret, right? But just in this way, by essentially doing nothing, right? By essentially just going bald. Like that is how you are free from all of that suffering, because you just go bald and you have no qualms with anyone knowing about it. You don't try and play it off as something that it isn't, right? So like, again, like with the hair transplant thing, like you're not trying to say like, oh no, like this isn't a hair transplant, or this is, like you're just like, I've had a hair transplant. And then you're not worried if someone's going to discover that. And same with the whole baldness thing. It's like, I was stressing about losing my hair all the time and being insecure. So I shaved it off, like, and just, I've moved on with it. That just sets you free from all of the suffering that I've just described, And I think, not that you asked this, but just a quick extension, the lines kind of get blurred here by like the two different camps, if you like.
Yep.
Where then you start to extend those thoughts of, but your quality of life's going to go down if you're a bald man. Your dating life's going to be worse if you're a bald man, like, and all of these things, And ultimately, my way of thinking about that is, one, I would never torture myself with the thought of, would my life be better if I had hair? Yeah, like, because people obviously ask me, like, if you could get your hair back right now, like, would you do it? It's like, or I'm going off on all sorts of tangents, but the Tinder thing, right? Guys contact me about dating apps and things, but bro, have you seen those videos where like the guy will Photoshop himself bald and then with hair, and he gets more matches, like when he's got hair? It's like, bro, that isn't my life, mate. So why would I torture myself and be like, right, you know what I need to do? I need to jump on Claude, give myself hair, put them on Tinder and see if I would get more matches. Because then, that's going to show that my life's good. No, mate. Like, that's not my life. I truly have the mentality of, even if it's going to be harder, which I will never know, so be it. Like, I will still go after everything I want, how I am, and I will change the things I can change, and I'll accept the things that I can't, and that is my path, and I just think that's the best path, which is why I talk about it a lot.
Man, I think that's such a healthy way of thinking about it, and like a lot of people might disagree, you might disagree, but I would say, for example, going back to the what you've just said, is okay. So on average, I would say the majority of women would probably prefer someone to have hair. On average, the majority of women would prefer someone not to have a disability and a black leg. Of course, of course not. Like it's little things. But yeah, I'm not going to be able to change that about myself.
Yeah.
So who gives a fuck? I will focus on what I can control, which is being in shape, being psychologically healthy, like having a good life.
Yeah.
And fuck the things that I can't change.
Yeah. Let me add something to that as well.
Okay.
Because I take the thinking even further.
Okay.
So going back to this, like, if you could snap your fingers back and go back to you at 25, would you do it? Right. Objectively or subjectively, let's say I would look more. Let's throw up a picture of me with or without hair.
Yeah.
I'll throw up my best bald picture versus my best, most handsome hair picture.
Yeah.
Right. I could go back then, but I'm not the same guy. I'm not the same man back then as I am now, because through being insecure about the hair loss, developing myself in other ways, learning more about myself, where does my true authentic confidence come from, the exposure therapy and all those ways has literally made me a different man. Like I see myself in a different light. I see what's possible in a different light. I do have an element of maybe being a little bit less more carefree, right? About how I look at things.
Yeah.
That has made me a different person. And you could argue has made me a more attractive person because I'm like that.
100%.
You know, the guy before, okay, sweet, I've got a full head of hair, but I'm shy. I'm not taking chances. Small things like worrying about certain things of my appearance is making me cower in the back of university classrooms.
Yeah.
I'm not taking chances. I'm not believing I can, it's like, okay, sweet. Maybe I would get 25% more matches on Tinder. But when those two Harrys are actually navigating life, which one would I truly rather be? Is it the one who's trying to serve my ego, which is essentially all I had then? I had an ego and a bit of a hollow self-esteem. Or now, where would like to think at least, a lot more real, a lot more connected with who I am. I've been through a lot more challenges, beyond hair loss that's made me who I am. I've learned to kind of go through those, learn from those, not just like, no, this can't be happening. We talked about therapy, like actually working through things rather than patching them up. So for all of those reasons, I would argue, and this sounds like such a cocky thing to say, but I would argue I am more of an attractive person as a whole now to be in a relationship even. That's a whole, I could probably chew your ear off for another 2 hours on actually who I am in relationships, having been on that journey as well, which makes it better, longevity wise for an actual proper relationship, not just bangs and Tinder matches, So all of these things play into it. And I think, unfortunately, the place where most guys are figuring out their hair loss battle is when they are insecure, uncertain, unsteady. And so I think I'm saying all of this because when I reflect on, again, these two camps and maybe people who don't understand the message that I give out and what I'm truly saying or proposing guys do, it's about a lot more than just how do you look with hair versus how do you look without it. Is that making sense? It's like, it's about so much more than just like, I can't control losing my hair, so sod it, I'll just shave it. The just shave it, bro, argument, right? It's like, when you think about attractiveness and all that, it just comes down to I think I mentioned this because you said like, who would women prefer guys with hair? Like that's probably true.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to life and attractiveness and relationships than that mere factor. I think 100%. That's why I went on that TED talk.
No, I agree with you entirely on that. So I mean, from a superficial level, right? And averages, we're talking. Same with the black leg. Same with there's going to be preferences that people are gonna have.
It's deep. It is a deep topic, and I do deep it. I love to deep it.
Yeah.
But because the psychology of it is so fascinating to me, and truly what it's all about. Like it is all about how you perceive yourself. For example, a hair transplant can be so transformative to men, or even something like SMP or whatever, because of the psychology. And I think that's what so many people are disregarding. It's because if let's say, for example, you got the guy who's been bald for ages and he's feeling a bit insecure about that, so his dating life sucks, right? 99, and this is a hill I'll die on, 99% of that is down to how that man sees himself.
Absolutely.
So if he thinks, oh, I'm an ugly, bold piece of shit walking around, right, the way he's showing up in life is ugly, is insecure, is unattractive, not taking these chances. If he then goes and gets SMP and he looks himself in the mirror and he's like, whoa, I'm the man. I am him. Like, this is amazing. What does he do? He's going out. He's smiling at people. He's bang on Tinder. He's feeling energetic, having good chats about people.
Yeah.
The main thing that's changed there is how he sees himself. It's not like, wow, SMP is revolutionary to your looks,
Sorry,
you know? And so that my belief here is, with the work that I do, the same can be achieved in all sorts of way. You improve your relationship with you improve your relationship with yourself. You start showing up in life different. You start carrying yourself differently, you know? And so you can get those same results from different means. You don't necessarily need a procedure or to change something drastic about the way you look to do that. Is that making sense? I know we're going off on all sorts of tangents
this is so true. It's not the physical thing that matters. It's the story you tell yourself about that physical thing. Like, that is what it is ultimately at the end of the day. I think the perfect example is like when I was younger and like really not a lot of confidence and didn't have any success with women, I'd watch like guys, like dating coaches. There's one called RSD, Real Social Dynamics.
Okay, yeah.
And there's a guy called RSD Tyler, and he's like this short, ginger, balding man with like a receding hairline. He's fat, he's overweight, and
he's like that Owen. Have you seen that other guy, Owen something?
Yeah, Owen, that's his name.
Oh, is that his name?
Owen Cook, I think.
Cook,
so he calls himself RSD Tyler, I think, maybe, or Fight Club or something like naming it after that. But I would just watch him interact with like beautiful women and girls. When I would consider myself like physically, when I was like at the time, I was like, yeah, I'm in shape. I'm a lot more attractive than him.
Yeah.
But the way he would interact and just speak to people, regardless of how he looked, and like he would talk about this as well, how he's like short, fat, balding. He would say all these things, but just the way that he obviously he didn't let that define him, and the way that he could speak to people, interact, and get like these beautiful women is just like, wow, it's crazy. So it just goes to show, man, like you said, that
it's fascinating.
All about what we tell ourselves.
Like you said, like, let's be real, you back then or me back then versus him in a bar or in a group of women, absolutely would smoke, you know, and get smoked. And again, this is the interesting part when you think about like looks maxing or things to optimize your looks. And I think this is where that can get really disregarded. And the annoying thing is if you now, this day and age, if you start saying things like that, like it's about how you see yourself, it's about, people will fob it off as like, yeah, just be yourself, bro. Like, just, you know, but that's what frustrates me about that space. Like, because if you put all of your eggs into the looks basket without actually developing the man behind that sees himself, it's all futile, you know, like it's all pointless. Take me back to me at like 19, 20. Like I was like nothing, like like shallow, hollow, no self-confidence. But yeah, eventually like people would have said like, oh, he's a handsome guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's a good looking guy. But like I said before, my dating life was awful. Like I could have women literally like all the signs and I do nothing.
Same, man. You just don't take action on it, right? Because of that self-doubt, because of that like lack of confidence.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, do you know Clavicular?
Yeah.
A little bit. Like I see this a little bit in him.
Yeah.
Like, obviously he's smashing it. He's this young lad. He's probably going through like the same journey where he's having these surgeries. He like looks great physically, but you see him interactive and he's probably got a lot of confidence because he's very successful and he's making a lot of money and he's very known. But you see him interact with people, right? And you can
awkward, rigid.
Yes, man. You can see that there's that like deep lack of like being at peace with yourself. But dude, I didn't expect to hear that from you though. How you were saying regarding like that's a really crazy angle regarding the SNP or regarding like doing these little things to like, doing things to improve your appearance. And then that in turn, it isn't the thing itself that actually gives you that confidence. It's because you start to see yourself in a different way or you tell yourself a different story.
Yeah.
So on this,
No, and a lot of the work that I do with guys, if they are struggling like that, but they're like, I don't really want to get SMP. I don't really want to get a hair transplant. I just want to be comfortable with me.
Yeah.
Is helping them find other ways to change how they see themselves.
Okay.
So I'll often start with the question like, okay, think about the confidence that you want and how you want to be showing up in life.
Yeah.
What is it going to take for you to see that in you? What's it going to take? For some guys, it may literally be like a few Tinder matches wouldn't hurt, you know, or I just need that first compliment. I just need, a lot of it, unfortunately, does start with external validation, you know? That's where guys often get quite stuck, but that is usually the first step. And it's like, okay, well, you know, just to give you a really clear cut example, if some guy's feeling insecure about his baldness, you know, not feeling confident, I'll literally ask like, okay, what's it going to take? Okay, maybe some sort of success in the dating market. And I'll ask, okay, you know, what's dating life like now? Non-existent. You know, like I haven't really put myself out there. Why not? Well, I don't really feel confident. Then you talk about fear of rejection and things like that. So they're holding themselves back. And so, because they're seeing themselves as unattractive and unlikable, whatever. And so then because of that, obviously the results aren't there to change that narrative. So it's about doing things, pushing into that zone of discomfort to actually be in a position to get the match, to get the date, to get the kiss, the compliment, whatever.
Yeah.
For that narrative to slowly start to change. And to be honest, usually guys are like one win away from like it totally changing their narrative, you know?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, okay, so it is possible, you know? And then they start to show up a bit differently. You know, they're way less afraid to go into a bar, speak to women, or not go in without the hat on and things like that, you know? So there's other ways to achieve it. And that's my kind of thing, you know, is just go after it anyway. Like, so be it. Like, just start showing yourself that you can do it, you know? Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So just start showing yourself that you can, you know, and it's the best way to get unstuck like that and change that relationship without needing some sort of external factor. I'm a big believer in that. It's in there. The confidence is in there. You just have to do things to like see it, you know, to actually reveal it.
Yeah. What was the moment like for you when you decided to shave your head? Like, how did that happen?
So I actually did what I call the gradual approach.
Okay.
Right. So I wasn't like in the mirror, zero guard, like, fuck you, hair. You know, speaking about the university thing. Yeah. Every guy who decides to shave it reaches their breaking point, right? Yeah. Mine was, I just spent, 4 hours at university hiding in the back of my classroom as a 25-year-old man, which is crazy to say. If you really think about what that is, it's ridiculous, Anyway, did it. And then I'm walking home. And obviously, I was in China learning a new language. I would speak to everyone, pre-boarding at least, right? I would annoy people because I would just find any way to speak to people so I could learn, study, practice my Chinese. Yeah. And so I had gotten quite used to pre-boarding at least, just noticing when people would want to say something to me or interact, which would happen a lot because there aren't that many foreigners, or at least there weren't when I was in China. Yeah. Right. So people would naturally be look at you and they'd be like, oh, what are you doing? They would also be inquisitive. Uh-huh. And I'm walking down the road and this really attractive woman, my age, is walking towards me. And normally I would think okay, perfect, say hello, or just usually just say a few lines and they'd go, oh, you can speak Chinese. And then you engage in a conversation. Yeah. And I saw her walking towards me and I literally was like this, and I saw her and I was like, oh, and I diverted my gaze in an instant so that she wouldn't look at me, so that she wouldn't clock me. Yeah. And I was like, oh. And then I literally went as far to scramble in my pocket to get my phone out to distract myself. Yeah. And and I understand this now, but all because I didn't want to her to we're this far apart, and she looks at me and then she looks at my hair and would be like, ugh, or something like that. For some reason, that was what I thought was going to happen. Yeah. And I was so afraid of that happening. She'd look at me and be like, what are you looking at? You weird old man. What are you? Because that's how I saw myself at the time. Yeah. And God, I can literally feel the exhaustion of that moment right now. But I did it, and I literally went off to the side of the street and I stopped in my tracks, and I it was literally this shock. of like, what just happened? Like, what did I just, like, what am I doing? I'm now at the point where I can't even look people in the eye. And that was like almost, again, going back to that cycle, it sort of turned to anger, where I was like, no, enough's enough. Like this, I'm not living my life like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I went home and I literally looked myself in the mirror and I was like, Harry, how long are you going to let this insecurity ruin your life, like control you? Like, how is this really how you want to spend the rest of your life? In fear, afraid, walking down the road like this, can't look people in the eye.
It's weak, right? Isn't it? It's the opposite of masculine.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the opposite of who I thought I was and who I wanted to be. And so maybe like the next step, I made the decision and then I went down, there was a barbershop in the big like high rise where I lived at the bottom. And I went in there and I was like, right, I want a 0 on the sides, but just leave like a 2 on the top.
Okay.
And he was like, no, like, don't do that. That looks terrible. Like, don't do it. And I was like, no. And we argued for like 30 minutes. I was like, just do it. Just do it. And I think I felt safe to get that haircut because I'd had that haircut in uni for like maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
So I knew it looked all right. And I knew it was like this sort of go-between phase. This is sort of like my first step. So it was a step away from all the hiding. It was a step towards like really going bald and confronting it.
Yeah.
But obviously it wasn't all the way there, but it felt safe enough to do, but also progress.
So
right?
gradual exposure, right?
Exactly.
And you step outside your comfort zone one step at a time.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that. And it meant I could no longer go like this. I no longer had a bald patch to fixate on and worry about.
Okay.
Because in my mind, it was like one big bald patch like that, right? And I got the haircut and I knew it looked all right. But actually what it did do is it revealed that my hair was way thinner than I thought it was.
I had the same thing. Yeah.
And it was like 0. So it was like really light here, dark, and then light again.
Mm-hmm.
And I rocked that for maybe like 2 months, getting it cut like every week. And I was like, nah, this is ridiculous. And so I went back in again. I was like, just give me a 0 all over. And again, he protested, but I was like, nah, I'm like, for real. This
in Chinese, you having this conversation?
Yeah.
From Chinese in the barbershop.
He was like, don't do it. But no, did it. And that, like 2 months after I did the gradual approach was when I truly like stepped out of the barbershop and was like, yeah, this is it. I've done it. And I felt that true sense of freedom.
Did it feel like you had been, I know it's maybe a very cheesy thing to say, but like reborn, right?
100%. It was like, I'd felt like talking about words like masculinity, strength, like overcoming, that was what it felt like. Like I got a real boost, like, but what felt like a healthy boost of, I've done something that I was afraid to do. And that feels so good.
You feel like $1 million
because I'd spent a year doing the opposite, and I'd finally taken a big step in the other direction of being like, whatever that was for the last year, and I got this face on me now because like that's how I felt at the time. I was like, I don't know what I've been doing for the last year, but that is not who I am, and that is not how I'm going to live the rest of my life, and I'm finally doing it. And I did get a kick out of like, okay, like I'm okay with what I have here. Not like, and no disrespect, but like the hair loss industry, in order to sell it, does prey on your insecurities. That's just marketing 101, right? That's no. I'm not making that up. Right?
No,
surprise.
I probably do it as well, right? As someone that works with hair loss brands, like there's a Instagram reel actually that I'm thinking about, and it's not been published yet, but it's like the differences that hair makes, and it's me with a like no hair on the top and just on the sides, and then the next picture. So yeah, it absolutely plays on insecurities. So I do it too.
Yeah. So I felt good that I went against that as well. That felt good for me. I was like, that was trying to get me, and it was trying to get something that I already felt and kind of pour fire on that insecurity, so that I would make the decision to get the thing to save me, whether that be the transplant or whatever, right? And I didn't do it. and I didn't do it, and I'm okay. And I did get a kick from that. You know, I did. I got a boost from that. Is that all good?
Yeah, just the microphone's slowly falling into your face. Don't worry, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. And I got a boost from that. I won't lie to you. I really did get a boost. And I think, you know, talking about it, feeling insecure, growing up and struggling, maybe just living off ego for a bit. I think I felt this calm sense of like, okay, I actually feel good about me in myself in this moment. And that was probably one of the best things I got from it. Yeah. And from them, it was a continued path, which I feel like I'm still on, of like really finding and developing authenticity, and not just in like who I am, but like how I feel about myself. Truly, I think that was the first step in doing that, because it's a big thing that shows you that you're stripping things away and you're relying on very little, you know, to feel good about yourself. It puts you in that vulnerable state, but it does make you acknowledge things that you like about yourself, you know, that you do have. And it did a lot for me. And so without, giving you the entire life story, massive moment.
I feel like every guy that is, whether or not you're gonna have a hair transplant, take medication or not, I feel like any guy that's remotely insecure about their hair should shave it and feel what that's like at least once.
Yeah.
100%, man. I feel like if you've got resistance to this, because your hair's going to grow back. Like it's a bit of a myth that if you've got,
it's a myth.
if you've already got like a receding hairline, right, and you shave it, it's not going to grow back. It'll grow back to exactly the same how it was before.
Yeah.
So it will come back. So I feel like if you've got that resistance, then it's probably an indication that you need to do it more, because it's this insecurity that's weighing heavy on you.
Yeah.
And I asked you about like, what was it like when you shaved it off? Just because, like I said, like a bit of a cop out from me. But when I did have the hair transplant, I could have got the hair transplant and kept my hair, and they could have gone around the sides, and it would have been pretty similar result. It would have just been a little bit harder for the surgeon to do. But yeah, I knew that I needed to shave it off to see what it was like.
Yeah, good.
And when I did it, and when I was bald for that period of time and with a skinhead, like, yeah, man, it felt like I was born again. It felt so good not to have that weighing on me at all.
Yeah.
And even comparing let's say like 2 months after shaving it off or getting the hair transplant, when I was still had no hair whatsoever, and you get this ugly duckling phase, right?
Yeah.
Where the corners of but my problem was the temples. So I had really bad temporal recession. I had quite a far back hairline at the front. So I had like these like empty corners, and it was thin on top. So when I buzzed it, or when it started to grow through, it was patchy, it was really thin. And then you get the ugly duckling phase where the newly transplanted hair ejects and it falls out. So you go through a few months where there's basically no hair there at all. And it's the equivalent to you just shaving your head without the hair transplant. So I had these big, like deep recessed corners. And man, like me at that point versus me 2 months before the hair transplant, when I had my original longer hair, like I was so much more confident, and I didn't give a fuck. And it was like this weight had been lifted, and it felt so good.
Yeah.
But it's only because I've experienced that now I have that awareness that, if I did stop taking the hair loss meds, or if they stop working, like it's fine. Like I'll just go back to how that felt. But if I didn't do that, then I'd still have this like crippling fear,
100%, mate.
right?
Yeah. Honestly, that's probably one of the most important things we've said in this podcast, because you now know, having done that, that if the worst comes to the worst, what is the worst thing? The man who fears balding, right? The worst thing to happen to him is he goes bald, right? So
life is over.
But that's what you feel like.
Yeah.
So when you shave your head, for any man, whatever path you're deciding to go on, if you confront that your absolute worst fear, which is going bald, if you confront it by going bald, live your life for a bit, really put yourself out there. And if you can stand in front of the mirror and actually be like, you know what, if this is what it is, the worst case scenario, I can handle this. And if you can just see that, then I would actually argue that your success, if you're going down the road of hair loss prevention and transplants and whatever else, is going to be far much more of a success, because you are not so reliant on it being that success and being everything you need it to be, because you, in the back of your mind, you know, like, okay, look, let me do what I need to do here with the surgery, with whatever. But at the end of the day, if I do need to go bald at some point, or I choose to, whatever, it's going to be fine. I'm going to look fine. Life's going to be fine. Then so be it. You can actually just like freaking relax and enjoy the whole process so much more, because that doesn't hang over you, like you said. And the whole problem with losing your hair is all of that shit that hangs over you, all of the fear, all of the anxiety. It's the only reason why hair loss is a problem in the first place. Because again, it doesn't hurt. It's not because your body's messed up as much as guys want it to be about vitamin deficiencies or whatever
bullshit,
else, you know, like, sure, cling to that all you want. But if you just get real, you know, and totally went off. I totally lost my train of thought with that one. But you get my point, right? It's like when you confront the very reason why hair loss is a problem in the first place, which is all of that fear, all of that anxiety about going bald, when you sort that out, your problem is gone, right? Your problem is solved, literally. And you may just decide that, oh, actually, this is fine. Like, I'll just keep a shaved head, or I look fine with a shaved head, so I'm no longer stressing about the hair that I had left. Realistically, I could have kept my hair that I had before. If I'd have known my life would have been fine like this, I probably could have rocked hair for another like 5 years, maybe 4.
Yeah.
Because it did go quite rapid. Turbo balding, we call it.
Yeah,
it did go pretty rapid. But if I'd have been so less worried about someone discovering it, I probably would have rocked hair for another like 2 or 3 years. Just had the hair that I had.
Yeah.
You know?
What would you say to someone that is maybe like a younger lad, maybe in their 20s or late teens, and they've noticed that their hair is like receding, they don't like it, they're in this point of pain, they're like, fuck, what do I do? They're insecure about it, and they're like, they don't know what to do.
Yeah. I think the first version of everything we talked about in terms of like confronting it, the first accessible one, and it is kind of over annoying. You know, before we talked about like, I'm going to talk about sharing your feelings. Oh, we were talking about the making jokes about baldness.
Okay, yeah.
So again, like, you know, with like the men's advice forums and things, like people talk about, you got to talk about it, check in on bro and stuff like that. It's like an awkward thing, isn't it? Or at least I sense it is sometimes, where it's like, yeah, that's right, you should need to talk about it. But I don't know about what you're like with your mates. We do that. Like, we're open enough to have deep conversations, but we very much play things off as like, oh, you're depressed again, are you? Like, oh, what's new?
Yeah,
you know,
like, it's not forced.
You're having that conversation, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, but if you're really depressed, like, we can talk. But you're not like,
I'm here for you, Harry.
You know?
Give me a call when you're sad. It's
exactly.
Like,
it's not like that. It's like, oh, do you want to talk about it again, do you? Come on, man. You know, like, anyway, I say all that because get that little first bit of exposure verbally. I think it is just the best thing to do, because there are plenty of 16, 17, 18, right up to whatever age guys who are so stuck in needing to keep it this secret. And that is what is causing you the most amount of pain. So whoever it is, your mom, your mate, your brother, your cousin, do not be embarrassed or afraid to literally go like, I'm losing my hair, or I think I'm losing my hair and I'm really worried about it, or I'm really insecure about it.
Yeah.
You know? But find someone that's actually going to listen to you as well. You know, we talked about listening off the camera earlier, you know, because you don't want someone to just be like, don't worry about it. Like, oh, your hair's fine. That's a common one. Like, oh, what are you talking about? It looks fine. Like, just keep it or whatever. Find someone that's going to listen wherever you can. You know, maybe that is a journal, to be honest. But find someone that's going to listen so that you can actually get those thoughts out. Because one of the biggest things that helped me was a conversation I had with one of my colleagues, which was when I was literally like dumping in the chat, like, this is going to ruin my life. I'm so ugly. I'm so old. Like, whatever else I was saying at the time. I'm going to look like a freak. I can't grow a beard. And she literally asked me, like, is that true? And I was like, oh, like, maybe that isn't true. You know, but it was only through actually having the opportunity to say that out loud that it was like, oh, it woke me up. Like, is that true? And then I started to think like, maybe that isn't true. But before, when it was just stuck in my head and I was stuck hiding and it was always going around in my mind like, oh my God, this is going to ruin my life. It was true. It felt so true because I couldn't question it. But actually, when you can say it out loud and hear it and ask yourself, is that true? you can actually be like, you can actually question it, and then you figure out your path forward.
I didn't think I was going to get that answer from you, actually.
Did you not?
It's very different. I've never thought of it like that.
Do you think I was going to say just shave it, bro?
No, I don't know. Well, I think before we started having this conversation, if you were to ask me, yeah, I would have thought you would just be the just shave it, bro crowd, I think. But that's super interesting, man, because it's labeling it. And yeah, I feel like, me personally, I feel like it's stupid where it's like, check in with your mates and all this stuff. Like, yeah, that's a good thing. It's a nice idea, but it doesn't always work like that. So I think like labeling it and saying, okay, if there's something you're insecure about, just like chat to someone about it. It doesn't have to be some deep conversation. It can literally just be like, oh, bro, is my hairline cooked?
Yeah.
And then just open up that kind of conversation back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, I do a similar thing. Even before this podcast, right? I'm pretty new to doing this format with guests. I said to you that I always get worried about when I have a guest and you don't get on with them well, and you get to this point and you don't know what to say, and you're like, and it brings a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
So I probably said that because I was insecure about not having something to speak about.
Yeah.
So I've said it to actually put it into the world and like label it, and then I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. No, I think it's hugely important, man. Honestly, really important, that part, if you can. And ultimately, the extension to that advice would just be like, of course, you do have options, you know, and for some guys, like, hair loss is a journey. Coming to that point where you're really comfortable with it, it is a journey. For me, it was shave it relatively early into that journey. For some guys, they have a hair transplant, they rock hair for another 10, 20 years, then maybe they choose to shave it. Some guys, you know, you see big, we talked about SMP here, big in that world is they've had a hair transplant, then they go to do SMP. You know, then they say, oh, by the way, I had a hair transplant and I'm getting SMP. I think it all comes back to the truth. The truth will set you free, right?
Yeah.
And just whatever road you take, just be comfortable in that, whether it's accepting it and you want to shave your head. You don't need to make jokes like, oh yeah, it's Halloween, bro, so this is a costume. Like, no, like, you can say, yeah, I was mad stressing about losing my hair, trying to keep this bowl patch hidden, so I've shaved it off. So you can see like, hello, like, yeah, I'm losing my hair. Let's deal with it now. Yeah. Because I'm not trying to live the rest of my life with this weight on my shoulders of needing to keep it a secret. Yeah. So this is it, you know? And that, like, literally with that statement is where everything is just like, oh, like, finally, I can just live my life. I can go swimming. I can roll down, get the roof off on the car. You know, I can go to the gym without the hat. And everything that you want to do in life, it doesn't need to hold you back. You know, I can go to the restaurant again. I don't need to look at the pictures on the website to check that they don't have mad downlighting. Yeah. All of these things are real experiences for guys that are losing their hair, you know, and you can just live life how you're supposed to. And a big thing for me is helping guys reach their potential, because hair loss insecurity holds so many guys back from them fulfilling their potential in whatever realm that is. Being a good partner, being a good dad, even things like the gym, bench pressing, like, just, you don't think about it, but
sweating,
or like, oh, I need to keep my hat on so I don't bench press, because if I go back like that, the hat's going to come off. So I've just stopped doing that. Certain exercises, like all these little micro ways that the insecurity affects men. You can just stop doing all of that bollocks and just actually go after life. And that's when your relationship with yourself changes. That's when you get the positive feedback, whether that is the dating market, whether that is on business calls, whatever, you know. But that's what fires me up, man. That's my why, and probably why I haven't started. You know, in many ways, it's my own path as well. Yeah. But there's nothing better than when I get messages from a guy and they're like, bro, you don't know how much that I was like stressing, or this was keeping me held back, and since, you know, watching your content or whatever, I've done it, I've moved on, I've like, life is so much better. Like, that's what I live for, dude. Fuck yeah, man. I think it's a good place to call it, because there's a lawnmower just starting outside. Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful place to end it, bro. But where can people find you? Ball Cafe on YouTube. Yeah, jump on there. At Ball Cafe on Instagram as well. What if people want to work with you as well? People want to work with me, either DM me, to be honest, just shoot me a DM on Instagram, or go to baldcafe.com. My book's there, and there's an email there where you can get into contact with me about working with me. So yeah, the more the merrier. Something I've never shifted in terms of like passion. It's honestly what I live for. It is the mission. And thank you so much for having me, man, and sharing my
Bro, smashed it.
piece.